Hello everybody, it's Foo here, and today I want to talk about my new best friend, Orthworm. This long boy is so cool, and I just had to tell you all the amazing things about Orthworm. Orthworm completely carried me through my playthrough, even at times when I was under-leveled, like Orthworm pulled through. And it turns out that there's a lot of potential for competitive as well, which is just amazing because we get to see more of Orthworm. Orthworm you can get relatively early game, and it's a very defensive steel type, which isn't anything too groundbreaking on the surface of it. If we look at the stats, Orthworm has a massive defense stat, a kind of okay attack stat, not so great, and then all the other stats aren't so good. With the HP and defense, you are definitely bulky enough to take physical attacks, but you've got quite a low special defense, so you do need to be careful about taking special attacks. And the base 65 speed isn't the fastest, but it's not the slowest either, so you will be able to outrun some of the slower, bulkier Pokemon. What really sets Orthworm apart from other steel types though is its signature Earth Eater ability, which, if hit by a ground type move, it actually restores 25% of its health. It's basically a better levitate, so we've now got a steel type that's immune to ground type attacks. That means that Orthworm only has two weaknesses, which are fire and fighting, two immunities, which is poison and ground, and then a ton of resistances being a steel type. So Orthworm's typing is just amazing. So easy to slot onto teams, and actually the steel typing with the ground immunity is really great for walling things, because a lot of Pokemon take ground type moves for coverage against steel types, and this is a steel type where that option will not work. What's also interesting to note, because of their abilities, Orthworm and Daxburn, who I've already done a video about, make a perfect defensive core. Basically, they completely cover each other's weaknesses and you are good to go. And that's what I used in my playthrough. I loved using these guys together. It does have a hidden ability, which is Sand Veil, but you basically will never use that because you have to set up the sand and then they might miss. Earth Eater is by far the superior ability here, so you don't even need to think about which ability you're going to choose. Earth Eater's just so good. So what kind of sets do you want to run on Orthworm? I think Orthworm will be more versatile in singles compared to doubles, so I'll do 2 single sets and then 1 double set. So the first single set that I want to do is a utility set on a more offensive team. So this set is all about setting up hazards and then supporting your setup sweepers to win the game. So on this set, Orthworm is running leftovers, it's really defensive, and we're running Stealth Rock, Spikes, Body Press, and Shed Tail. The idea being that you come in on a physical attacker that you can completely wall because of your typing, your defenses, and your ability. You can set up some hazards and then Shed Tail out to pass a substitute to one of your setup sweepers that can win the game for you after all the chip that the opponent's getting from the Stealth Rock and Spikes. So Orthworm is the only other Pokemon outside of Cyclizar to learn Shed Tail, and it's not as good at using it as Cyclizar because you have to sacrifice 50% of your HP, and Cyclizar has the Regenerator ability which allows it to get a large portion of that back, whereas Orthworm does not. I would have loved to have seen Regenerator instead of Sand Veil as its hidden ability because Orthworm would have been really good with those 2 ability options. Unlike Cyclizar, Orthworm does much slower Shed Tail, which means that on the turn that you use it, Orthworm has to take an attack and then Shed Tail, and if you get it off, whatever comes in will have a sub in place at the beginning of the next turn so that they can do whatever they want for free. Whereas with Cyclizar's Shed Tail, it's very fast and the opponent might break your substitute before your next Pokemon gets to act. It can't be understated how powerful a slow Shed Tail is, because this could allow your next Pokemon to go for a belly drum because they're behind a substitute. So this is really strong for offensive teams. We want Body Press on there just as a means of dealing some damage, and it's really important in singles because at the moment Roaring Moon is a massive threat, as well as Baxcalibur. A lot of people are using that. Both of these very scary Pokemon are weak to fighting, so it's nice to be able to have that Body Press there to deal a lot of damage. The Terra type for this set, I would suggest you use it defensively, so you could use Poison, which is good because it means that you then resist fighting if someone's going for an incoming fighting attack, and fire types are neutral. You only gain the psychic weakness, but the ground weakness for poison types again is mitigated by Earth Eater, so it's just a nice gotcha when the opponent tries to hit you with a fighting type move and you can resist that. Alternatively, you could try Terra Fighting because that would give you same type attack bonus on body press, which could be good. The next set that I want to show you is slightly more of a setup set, so abusing your good matchups against physical attackers to try and boost your stats and deal more damage. So on this set, we're running both Iron Head, body press, and then Curse, because the attack boosts Iron Head damage, the defense boost boosts body press damage, so you've got coverage across the board, and then you still can have Stealth Rock on this set as the utility option, which is great. Or if you've already got a Stealth Rocker, you can change that to Spikes if you want. Again, this is going to be more of a defensive set with the leftovers, and I would suggest similar Terra typing as well. You could choose to Terra Steel if you think that you're going for Iron Head a lot and you want to get an additional boost on that, but I would suggest Fighting or Poison is more valuable because this Pokemon is more defensive, so you want to change typings as a defensive play. There are other options for these setup sets. You could use Rest Talk as well to have an option for recovery on Orthworm, but I think that these two sets show you what you want to do. So the first one is more on hyper offense, the second one is more on balanced teams where you want some hazard support, but you can also deal some damage. In doubles, we've got a slightly different story because you don't have so much control about whether Orthworm is going up against physical or special attackers. There might be two on the field at the same time. Therefore, I would suggest to run Orthworm specially defensive in doubles formats. I think it will function as a late game cleaner, and I would suggest to run body press and iron defense together to boost up your defenses as much as possible, because you may need to take 2 incoming attacks, and it also means that your body press damage is being increased as quickly as possible. I still think that Iron Head is useful to have on there just so that you do have some coverage for ghost types and for fairy types. And then the last move I would definitely suggest is Protect. The item I go for is either Citrus Berry or Lumberry. I think Citrus Berry probably is more helpful because you're able to survive an attack, get the Citrus Berry off, get your Iron Defense up, and you can survive another attack. So I think that Citrus Berry could be very valuable for this Pokemon. But again, leftovers as a setup Pokemon being bulky, that could actually work really nicely for these endgame cleaning sets. You could always pair Orthworm next to an Earthquake user, and then you're dealing big damage to your opponents with Earthquake, and Orthworm is getting healing. So like a Garchomp Orthworm pairing could be very fun to use. And again, with the Terra types, I really think that the defensive ones are the best ones to go for. So Poison is great, but if you do want more damage, then Fighting is an option. That's going to be all for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider subscribing for more content. All that's left to be said is I've been Foo, you've been awesome, and hopefully see you next time. Goodbye.